Thank you very much, Caroline, and to welcome Minister Simon Harris here in his new role, I suppose, as Minister for Justice. And Minister, you're here to talk to us about such a serious topic. It is zero tolerance. It is no tolerance of any type of abuse against women. You know, it's incredible to think that we need to have a strategy to say that. It should be crazy to say that we need to have a strategy to say that. It should be automatically within us that there is never violence against men or women, but particularly women. And it's just, we see now that there's so much that has to be done for us as a society. And not just Ireland, I know across the world. As you state, Minister, in your opening speech, it's a change in our attitude and our behaviour. And each one of us has a role in that. And sometimes, you know, in a role as public representatives, it's really people who reach out to us. And how do we support them? So how do we as public representatives do that? How do we as friends, as family members, as work colleagues, have a space that people can reach out to us and speak to us and tell us about the experiences they're going through? Because it's that first step, it's speaking out. How do they feel safe to do that? And sometimes it's employers, and that's really important as well, because maybe it is the case that they cannot get into work. Maybe that's the first sign, maybe that's the first symptom. Minister, the majority are cases with people, as you've said, that people know. It's their partners, it's in their home, it's in a safe space. In the strategy that was developed there was actually, to my mind, quite an astonishing statistic as well, that 13% of all domestic violence applicants are parents of adult children as well. So sometimes we think of that partnership, you know, between male and female or between partners, but actually there's also the domestic violence happening with parents in the home as well. I want to really acknowledge the government funding support of 363 million. Minister, this group, the DSGBV, Domestic Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Services Agency as well, is based within TUSLA. I suppose some of my questions are just around how is that working? Because it's such an inter-agency approach. Obviously, Department of Justice here are taking the lead, I take it, but I mean, this is within a separate department, Department of Children, so just how is that working, just sort of between those agencies? And Minister, of course, you've mentioned a doubling of refuge places for women. That's absolutely crucial, and I really would like to see this been looked at in the case of towns, not just by county, and for regional areas, like in the area I'm in, Roscommon and East Galway, no refuge places there. Now in Galway City, yes, 40 miles from Ballinasloe. If you're a woman and you need an immediate place to stay, a safe place in our towns, there should be something available in reasonable sized towns, I would say, as well as our city centres. And I just feel that is a real issue in regional areas, because they need a place to go for that night. They need to maybe get out of a dangerous situation for a couple of days. And once they're out of that, you know, maybe they're in a safer space. So just about that, TUSLA's been allocated 37 million, Minister. I don't know if you can speak to is that funding from TUSLA going to double those places? Is that the fund that's been used for that? Is it TUSLA that's taken the lead on that? And what's been done around regional areas? I really appreciate the funding, of course, announced by Minister Helen McEntee to support agencies, and she put a particular focus on regional areas, because there are very little supports out there, and it's a huge part of the country. And I understand, of course, there's such pressure that we have now in accommodation. Of course, Women's Aid were in touch with us, Minister. They provide a vital service. They talk to us about prevention, of course, you know, raising our children to engage in relationships. They also talked about employers and about leave, particularly around leave for these types of situations. Again, just to highlight, a 24-hour national free phone helpline for people who are listening and do need this help, 1-800-341-900. Minister, in your dual roles, of course, now in justice and in further and higher education, you know, I welcome that you were down in Galway. We saw the rollout of the Active Consent programme from the University of Galway. This programme creates sort of consent education, training resources, workshops, educational videos, original dramas, social media campaigns for colleges, schools and sports organisations. I really want to highlight that. They do this, it's on their website, activeconsent.ie. We need to be rolling that out to schools. And Minister, I suppose, I don't know, although with your two hats on, but I don't know if you have any update maybe on the rollout of that to secondary schools in particular. For me, in my own area, just to acknowledge the guards, because as a public representative, it's our first port of call. Thank you. It's our very first port of call. I just really want to acknowledge that they've been so helpful. They have received a lot of training. They've been so supportive in different situations. And then finally, Minister, just across different departments, we need pilot alcohol and drugs addiction services. That needs to be part of this strategy as well, because alcohol and drugs are a key part about violence in the home. And I suppose just one last thing to mention is Move Men Overcoming Violence, just to acknowledge the agency and the work that they're doing there. Thank you, Minister.
Margaret.